right, Sam, the red light's on. So I'm sure you're feeling that pressure now, right? Like
Yes,
it just
totally.
elevates quickly as soon as that red light comes on. So I ask all my guests this. Let's start off with what'd you have for breakfast this morning?
I have yet to have breakfast, actually.
Oh, okay. The no breakfast. All
Yes,
right. Is
I
that typical?
I've got my coffee,
Okay.
and I'll probably make something after this.
Okay.
Maybe
All right. All right. All
some
right. All right.
scrambled eggs.
Yeah, it's still early for you though, right? I mean, it's
Yeah,
almost 1 o'clock for me. So all right. Cool, cool, cool. Well, I think we're sounding good. Why don't we jump right into actually why people are tuning in? So why don't you tell my listeners who you are and what your project is over on Indiegogo?
yeah. So my name's Sam. I'm the founder and CEO of Nomad Kitchen Co. The product that we've successfully funded on Indiegogo is the Nomad Kitchen. It's a vehicle-mounted kitchen system, full kitchen, pretty much everything you'd want to get in an RV or a camper van, but you can mount it in your trunk. So it's a relatively compact system compared to what else is out there, and putting it in the back of your SUV versus in an RV or a Sprinter van is a much more affordable and more compact option. No extra vehicle. You can just hop in your car and take it on the go. You got everything you need to prepare a meal, cook it, and clean up afterwards, including everything, including the kitchen sink. We've got a patent pending system. It mounts in using ratchet straps. You have no tools that you need. It mounts in and out in a couple minutes tops. And if you want to go run to Costco or move some furniture, it pops right out and you get your trunk back. So it's a pretty quick and easy system to get in and out, and setting up your camp kitchen or tailgating kitchen, whatever you want to use it for, is deployed in a matter of seconds just by popping open the locks and sliding it open.
Wow, that's awesome. So how does this idea kind of come about? Like, where is the starting point to get you to where you are right now? Like, how does this all come together?
Yeah, totally. So I had what I think a pretty privileged childhood. I grew up just outside of San Francisco, surrounded by beautiful mountains. I was a Boy Scout, and I got to go to summer camp when I was a kid that offered like backpacking trips. So I've always been really into wilderness and camping, and spent most of my summers as a child in like the Sierra Nevada mountains near Yosemite and Lake Tahoe. And then in high school, I took a culinary arts program for a year and was really enthusiastic and passionate about food. I've always loved to cook since then. And then in college, I studied engineering and got my master's of science in civil engineering, and worked in that field for about half a decade before but I'd spend all of my time when I wasn't working on projects, like planning my next camping trip with my friends and like trying to figure out good recipes to convert over to take into the woods. And a few summers ago, I had a couple weeks off between positions, and as I was working as a consultant, so I had a little break. And I went on a road trip to explore the Rockies. Hopped in my Subaru Forester, and I filled the trunk with a cooler, table, tons of stuff. I thought it was pretty organized at the time, but I soon learned it was not quite as simple as I had hoped. But I drove out to Montana and Wyoming, and I saw Grand Glacier, Waterton, Yellowstone, and Grand Teton national parks. It's absolutely stunning, beautiful country. But I was only spending like max 2 nights in each spot, and it's bear country, and you're every single meal you're like cleaning up, setting up, and breaking down camp. And when I got back from that trip, I spent quite a bit of time obsessing over how to how can I deck out my vehicle? What could I do to
Right.
Do I go get a Sprinter van? Do I get,
Mhm.
I want to have the same kind of adventure, but like, I want to be actually able to clean my dishes at the
Right.
end of
Right.
the
Right.
day and like set up pretty quickly without having to like build a table or pull everything out of my trunk every time. And I kept on losing things or not losing, but misplacing things like, where's my cutting board? Where's my,
Right.
where's that
Right.
wash bin? I got to pull everything out of it. So in my research, I discovered there weren't many options available. There were a couple of things that you could mount into your trunk if you had a very specific type of vehicle, like a
Mm.
Jeep or a 4Runner. But if you had something smaller or something that wasn't, classified as an off-roading capable vehicle, the
Right.
market didn't really exist. And there's this big van life push that was going on at the time and still continuing. But there's kind of like those are your options, all of which you're going to spend thousands of dollars converting something over, building something custom, or there were a couple options that had kitchens, but they either had to come fully out of the vehicle,
Mm.
or if they did stay in the vehicle, you had to like bolt them in and rip out all the side paneling.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I was like, I'm not going to do that. Also, I sometimes need to have my trunk. Like I
Right.
can't
Right.
like
Right.
permanently convert this thing. So I got to designing and I just, built a prototype, showed my friends. One of my buddies was like, hey man, this is actually pretty cool. And I'm like, did you not have faith in me? Come on, man. So yeah, spent a good year and tweaking and prototyping and testing these different variations before I kind of settled on something close to the final product.
Mm.
And then started working with other engineers and manufacturers and people with more automated machinery to develop some prototypes that were really, really sound. And then it's just been the timing kind of worked out right. There's a transition in work and I went for it and did my marketing research and realized, hey, other people want this thing too. So
That's cool.
here we are.
It's nice. It's nice. So in that process, what did you find, especially in like that prototyping stage, right? Where you're maybe it's just you kind of, cutting wood, whatever, building it out. What did you find was like the biggest hurdle that you were trying to overcome? Is it, I don't even know, water, heat, storage, different types of cars? What was like the biggest thing that you were finding that you had to kind of work through?
I'd say there's probably two things. One, getting materials to work the way you want them to, and actually, finding the tools to assemble something like this. It's something that needs to support a lot of weight and
Right.
have some be a very sturdy structure. And I do have woodworking skills, but I wouldn't say I'm necessarily like, the guy to manufacture this by hand. That's
Right.
not going to be the most sustainable option. So building the prototypes and something that would actually withstand the needs that I had set, and finding partners to work with to help manufacture, that was a big challenge, especially towards the end phase. And then the other thing was the universal mounting system was a big challenge. So finding a way that we could mount this to pretty much any vehicle that has anchor points and not having to sell custom attachment systems for every vehicle. That was something I wanted to avoid. I didn't want this to be something where as a customer you have to be like, all right, does this fit my vehicle? Is it gonna what adapter system do I have to order on top? And not only for like the customers that are a pain, but also in production, it's a hassle to have so many different components and different sizes of things. So I wanted to make that a universal system. So I designed a a custom ratchet system that fully contains this, and it really locks it down. It's adjustable for pretty much any size trunk. It's the straps are 4 feet long for each of the four, and so even in like a standard size pickup like a Chevy Silverado, it'll reach all the way to the back.
That's really cool. Really cool. How long was this process from that first prototype to getting something ready for photography, video? How long was that time frame?
It actually went pretty quickly. Maybe a year and a half at most. Okay. A little less than that, I think.
Was there ever a moment inside of that you felt like you really had something to keep going? Was there like, I mean, maybe it was the buddy saying, "Hey, this is something," but as somebody making something, there's probably moments where you're like, "Yeah, nobody wants this thing." It's, or whatever it might be, just those doubts that creep in. But what was that moment that maybe you were like, "Yeah, this is like really something. Like I kind of, it's really working."
Well, that buddy of mine really actually being encouraged was a good moment. And then I think maybe on like the second or third prototype, when it actually looked like a product versus right. just like some scrap wood thrown together with, I think the first couple prototypes had like a plastic bin and they didn't have like in any sort of integration or embedding in it. And once I got to the point where I had figured out how to embed a cutting board and drying rack and a sink basin all into the system without interfering with your cooking space and still providing like a prep space, I think that was the moment where I was like, all right, I've actually got your prep, cook, and clean. All three pieces are here. I think this can be reality.
That's cool. Yeah. When you were, and I don't know if you did this now, but maybe correct me if I'm wrong, did you ever take the time to put together sort of like a buyer persona, or like, I'm making this for this person? Because again, I think that this is something that young startup companies have to be thinking about, or when you're making a product that like you're sort of visualizing this really is the person who's going to buy this. Did you do something along those lines?
Yeah, definitely. So I think I had a pretty good understanding of this, and really I think that a lot of something that a lot of companies are missing this day, both startups and companies that have been around forever, is marketing research and really identifying their client base. I did work a bit in college and after college for a small marketing research firm that my father owned, and in graduate school, I did take some city planning courses that had some good like surveying and community engagement processes. And using those kind of tools, I learned, you originally you make something for yourself, right. And then you got to figure out who else it works for and like really who your ideal demographic is. And in this process, I kind of identified that, it spans a whole wide reality of people. There's your overland, off-road camper folks who, they're going to deck out every type of off-road vehicle, go adventure in the desert or in the middle of nowhere and, live off the grid, and then you've also got your weekend warriors, your city dwellers who want something quick that'll make the process easier and give them some more comforts of home, that aren't necessarily going to want to rough it, but still want to like get this thing out of their car for their daily driver. And then you've got the van life curious folks that are like, they want an RV or a van, but they live somewhere where they don't have the space for it, or don't have the money for that, but still want to have some of those comforts. Right. I also identified, festival goers, and and Burning Man has been canceled this year, but I'm sure folks that do that would like this. Yeah. I've never been, but it seems like a good fit.
Well, I could see the tailgating world too. Just if you're the tailgating guy for football, college, pro, all that sort of stuff. So
football games, even your kid's soccer game, it covers a wide band, but I kind of have focused on, I want to offer something that was rugged enough that these overlanders would go for it, but is also sleek and modern and has an appeal for your weekend warriors and, soccer moms and dads
Sure.
and everyone in between.
So inside of that, when you're starting to sort of narrow this down, how are you making decisions on content, look, feel, price points? I mean, it's just all this stuff now starts to kind of fall into place. But how are you sort of, figuring out that bullseye? Because I think you did a great job on the page, and I encourage everybody to go check out the Indiegogo page, because I think your content reflects what you're saying right now. So how are you sort of lining up this arrow so that you're not, I don't know, just all putting all Burning Man stuff in here and losing the soccer moms or whatever it might be,
Yeah, totally. Well, I realized that if you can touch on both ends slightly and really focus on that middle, you can appeal to everyone. So when we're creating our content, we really wanted to make it so that some of our, we show that this is something that can handle a rugged experience. When we developed the video, we got a 4Runner. We went out up into the mountains in Northern California. We took some, off-road or dirt road footage, but we didn't want to go extreme. We didn't want to, be in a rock crawler, because
right.
Half your demographic. But we also wanted it to, a story about a couple and their dog that goes off into the woods and for a night or two, to appeal kind of more the weekend warriors. We made sure that the vehicle we used was stock. It wasn't like anything crazy, something that both a soccer mom could own or an enthusiast as well.
Mm-hmm.
So we kind of tried to narrow down that in between, those folks that would go for a weekend trip, but also show that it's capable enough for the rugged experience.
Yeah, that's cool. It's very, very
tried
cool.
to narrow in there.
Yeah, no, definitely. So where does, in this whole now journey of you putting this together, where does I want to go to crowdfunding start to fit in? Especially when you have a price point that's relatively higher in the crowdfunding space.
Sorry.
Did we lose some Bluetooth?
I did. Battery died on this.
The old battery day. So what I was saying was, when does like crowdfunding, Indiegogo start to fit into the conversation of, I want to use this tool to try to bring it to market?
Yeah. A lot of it had to do with funding and the amount of risk I wanted to take.
Mm-hmm.
I understood the price points and like what it takes to manufacture something like this, and to really get the quality heavy duty parts and make it, have it assembled in California and for the majority, but also throughout the US for these parts. But in order to accomplish that, the options were kind of, do I go get some seed funding, get an investor? Well, they'll end up owning this or part of it, where, at what point, how much of this control and this idea do I want to own and share, I guess, or leave to someone else. And, I'm a big fan of like worker-owned businesses and cooperative business models that really, the people with the ideas and passion and making things a reality are making those decisions. The disconnect that a lot of corporations have, where you have some board who's never seen how the product is made, it really kind of, they're only looking out for the bottom line. Like I got to make money, but I also want this to be something that's like run by people that would both make and use this product, to understand the full process. So that was a factor to try and control some of the environment for it. The other thing too is I have sponsored some projects like this in the past, and the outcome, so there's always risk that you take when you back these things, but I've had good luck and the good follow through from passionate people. Mm-hmm. And I feel like if you can show that people will get behind you, I felt like I had a little bit of ownership in some of these products I've backed on Indiegogo or before, and helping a company start and by just giving a little bit has always been a good model.
Yeah.
I thought, and I also didn't really feel it also was like a good way to test,
Yeah.
You make sure that I really had something that people stood behind before going out to funders and
Right.
seed funders and being like, give me your money.
Yeah.
So also I don't think I'm necessarily the best at going out and selling myself all the time. So sometimes, I'm more of an engineer. I know some marketing and that, but I didn't feel necessarily comfortable with that setting.
Sure.
But I felt like the crowdfunding was a good balance, and it turned out to be very successful. And, up until the shelter in place orders came in, we were bringing in tons of orders, and we still are. We're still getting a good number of orders in, a couple a week at this point, which given the stimulus package hasn't arrived and that it's only 1 month's coverage, I think that's pretty good. So we're excited about where this is going, and the team is hunkered down, ready to go. And
that's cool. That's awesome. So, so just because we actually haven't even talked numbers yet, let's talk about that Indiegogo. I mean, so you still have 30 days to go, but you've already crushed your goal. You're sitting at 60,000. You had a flex goal of just under 40,000. So you still got a lot of time left here on this campaign. What was some of the metrics you were looking for behind the scenes before you hit that launch button? Were you looking for an amount of emails that you had, or people pixeled, or just what were you looking for before you said, we're ready to launch?
Yeah, we had some great support from Indiegogo. One of the directors there is a friend of a friend, and he got behind this project. He was stoked on it, and he gave us kind of the lowdown. Like, in their response, they said the absolute minimum following you want to have is, you need to anticipate that about 5% of your following will actually follow through. And that's like your minimum numbers. That's also like, it doesn't matter how great or poor your product is. If you anticipate about 5%, if you got something awesome, it could be more, but it also could be a lot less. And especially with a product that's this expensive, you want to make sure you have, a real solid quality following. So we made sure we spent 2 months ahead of time with social media and marketing, some promotional ads on Instagram, trying to get the word out, collecting email addresses, asking people to sign up so they got the first notice, and we rocked it. The head of marketing, Ariel, she really did an incredible job getting it all set up. She, really pushed our social posts and promotions, great email content as well. And we got, well over our 5% marker, and already had about, 2,000 Instagram followers before we launched. And we wanted to make sure we had both that and that we had good content for our product. And we were originally going to launch 2 weeks before we did, but we decided we wanted to produce our promotional video beforehand. So we pushed it back a couple weeks and created the video that you see on the page. And I'm so glad we did that, because the video turned out great. Matt, our videographer, did a stellar job. And I think that's really what it takes to get there. The goals we set were really like, that 5% marker was like, all right, how many people do we have to have following us to hit that goal? and the goals were based on what does it take to start manufacturing? Like
Right.
how much money do I need to put a deposit and down payment on production? Get all the parts and start. It doesn't cover everything, but it was enough that I could start production, put a down payment on manufacturing for the main components.
Gotcha.
We still need some more before we'll reach the point where we'll cover everything, but we've got enough that, if we just need to fulfill our Indiegogo backers, we've got enough for that. No
That's
problem. Cool. But we're still hoping to get some, and we have another goal. We're going to try and really push to get us to about $85,000 worth of revenue, because at that point we'll have a little bit more that we can go and build enough products that we can actually have a sustainable company that will keep us going. I have no concern about this, and if Indiegogo, we've got 30 days. I'm sure we'll get past that. And even if we don't, there's small business loans and other things, but we're sure we've got a solid company and we're here to stay, which is an incredible feeling, especially right now. And luckily, we have very minimal overhead right now, which means that even if this shelter-in-place order stays for months and months, we'll be okay. We're not. Good. The money is being spent specifically on the parts and manufacturing that we need. It's not being wasted on rent or large marketing overheads or anything. It's we're keeping the money that people have given us for production. So
that's cool. Has there been anything in this whole process around the actual campaign that has stuck out as something you weren't expecting? Like, is there a country that's kind of popped up, or I don't know, just something that you were like, man, I was not expecting this?
Yeah. A couple things. Yeah. The country thing, we're only offering this in the US right now. We will ship to Hawaii or Alaska, but it's like $450 to ship something this heavy to those places. So it's not like a realistic expectation, right, at this stage. Yeah. It's an oversized product. With packaging, you're looking at 86 pounds of shipping materials. It's like shipping a large TV or a tooling rack, So we have had a lot of interest from like New Zealand, Australia, and Canada, which makes a lot of sense. I knew those markets existed ahead of time. There's a lot of people that enjoy the kind of car camping experience, just like we do in the US. We would like to send them the product, of course. I think in the future, if we get to the point, we may work with some distributors in those locations to send like a large shipment. At that point, the cost of shipping goes way down and it makes sense. But we just got to get there. Yep. So that's in our plans. A big surprise though is we rolled out with this with a natural wood coat and a black coat for the product. And originally we had done like an Instagram poll and asked people what they thought, and we had gotten a lot of enthusiasm from our Instagram followers on the black model. So I was kind of expecting that to have more people to select that option, but we had a straight split right down the middle, 50-50 natural and black coatings, which is cool because it makes my life easier.
Yeah, interesting. So what happens internally for you guys for the next 30 days to kind of just keep energy going, just keep momentum going, because that's a long time to still be running this campaign. So what do you do to just keep that energy going?
Yeah, well, it's a little challenging to produce new content right now.
Yeah.
So
everything's in a Zoom video. Everything's
Yeah, totally. I know a lot of companies are getting creative. We don't have manufacturing capabilities at this time, so we're not shifting to other products or anything. We're staying focused. We're developing a cookbook, which we'll be rolling out with.
It's cool. It's a good idea.
30 recipes that you can cook on a stove, even cookies and cobbler. Getting a little creative. The test kitchen at home has been working real strong. Also trying to produce some content. I'm gonna do some shelter in place content just in my driveway if I can. And yeah, just trying to like encourage people that we know there is going to be so much fun and excitement and enthusiasm around getting back out into nature and to festivals and all these great places in the future. And we're trying to remind people that like right now we're all at home, but we're going to be out there soon, and we're excited to get these in everyone's hands and into their vehicles, and we can't wait to see where people's adventures are going to take them throughout the country. When it might be a while before international travel is back in flow, but we're road trippers ourselves, so there's plenty of that to be had. And once the virus is under control and it's safe to go out, and there's testing and vaccines, we'll be back out there. We'll be camping, and we'll be able to escape from all this madness and go enjoy some great food in the woods. So we're just reminding people and trying to keep everyone positive and excited about the future.
It's cool. So, with the 30 days to go, and then the time it takes for all the money to start to drop and the dust all settle on this campaign, what starts to happen for you guys to get these kitchens into people's hands? What's the process for you guys, and how long are you looking at to deliver to backers?
Yeah. So we developed some great relationships with distributors and manufacturers ahead of time. So I made sure that our entire production cycle was completely set in place before we launched. I know a lot of people kind of jump into these Indiegogo projects when they still just have like an early stage prototype or just a rendering. I've seen that those tend to not be as successful, so I wanted to make sure I had like as close to a final product as possible and have all the materials ready. So we've already purchased all of our 200 wash bins. We've our strap manufacturer in Oregon is once they can return to work, they have all the materials, they're ready to go. Same goes for our frame manufacturer in California. We've got our custom drying rack baskets. The prototype is being or the final version, which is quite a lot bigger than what you may see on the Indiegogo page, is being manufactured out in Illinois. They're still operational right now, so they're working on that. We're making things happen. We're doing our final engineering tweaks over this next month. Whenever things open back up and it's safe for our partners to have their employees go back to work, because we don't want anyone to be in a precarious situation, or we don't want anyone getting sick just to make a camp kitchen. So we're ready as soon as as the various states and locations open back up. It may be a little piecemeal, but we're ready to get everything together. Our packaging is designed. We're doing the final touches on shipping and fulfillment. I suspect as soon as all the different locations have their shelter in place orders lifted and it's safe, and again, things are made in different places, so it depends when everyone is back up. But as soon as that happens, things should be ready in under 3 months.
Cool.
You know, we're hoping it, you know, if everything goes seamlessly, but that's the timelines we have from all of our partners. Everything fits within that time frame. So we should be good to go as soon as that's ready.
Cool. And what does maybe like the next 5 years look like for you? I mean, just trying to imagine out and going, is this something that you guys as a company envision making all kinds of outdoor products that fit into cars, or like what do you guys kind of envision as like milestones and stuff for you guys in the future?
Yeah. So we've had some really big enthusiasm from various user types, pickup truck owners, smaller vehicle owners, people that, you know, want this product, but want to customize it. You know, we're not going to be in the business of custom products, but we do want to have a full product line.
Right.
So we've begun looking at various models and additions in order to have a full Nomad Kitchen product line. There will, in a couple of years, we'll probably try and roll out with something that's specifically designed for the truck market, or for our product does fit in small vehicles like a Prius and a Crosstrek, but we also wanted to recognize that in those situations, it does occupy more than half of your trunk. So we'll probably start looking at a smaller product. Both of those are I'm sure a couple years out, because we have to design them first and do the testing and all that, and set up the production for those. But given that we already have our production system, it should be a lot quicker rollout than this. So full product line, and there's a few other things that have been appealing to me. Some other challenges in the camping, cooking, car cooking world. And you know, I love my coffee, and it's not the easiest thing to do in the woods, you know.
Sure.
So maybe looking at some products that address some of those issues.
Nice.
Yeah, so we'll see. I would like to have a full store of accessories as well. I have been working on partnerships with other manufacturers, but we'd like to get some custom stuff that is very specific to gaps in the market that we've found.
That's cool. So where can people outside of the Indiegogo kind of dive in, learn your world? And you mentioned Instagram a couple of times. How do people kind of explore what you're working on?
Yeah, so Instagram, you'll get our like newest updates. We'll be launching a new promotional video soon. That's a summary of our based on the content of our Indiegogo campaign video. That'll be rolling out this weekend. By the time this is ready, we'll probably already be out. Our website, www.nomadkitchenco.com, will really give people a deep dive. So we do have pretty much everything answered on our Indiegogo page, but if you want more information, you know, we've got you know, a breakdown of all the different components and what you will want, you know, all the different, you know, more photos and a little bit more detail on there. We also have an email listserv where we give updates, you know, on progress, and really, you know, really where if you want more information and you want to learn when we go into production, and you know, when we've received different components, that's the best way. And that sign up is on our website. There's a spot to fill out at the bottom of the homepage, as well as a sign up page on there as well.
Awesome. Well, Sam, I've been doing this with everybody since we've all been locked in here. We'll just go do a couple lightning round questions, not related to any of this stuff. So First one is, what are you watching on Netflix or TV right now? What are you watching right now?
altered carbon, and which is interesting. It's really space sci-fi, but it's good. And I actually, when this all started, in the Bay Area, we've been on lockdown now for 5 or almost 6 weeks.
Right.
So at that time, I started rewatching The Simpsons from like 10 years ago. I didn't start at the very beginning, but like 10 years ago, I started watching, which is a great time because I had stopped watching the show before that. Yep. So it's all new and it's great.
Yeah. All right. How about, are you reading anything right now? That's.
Yeah. I'm reading a book by Haruki Murakami. He's a Japanese surrealist author. Weird, but awesome, really well written. Just you think you're just learning about this simple life of a man dealing with some personal issues, and it's just gets odd.
Okay, all right.
Very surreal.
How about
it's great.
How about a movie? What's the last movie you watched that you liked?
I watched Knives Out.
Oh, yeah. That's in my
really
queue.
Good.
Yeah, okay.
It's great.
That's in the queue.
Daniel Craig is hilarious with a Southern accent.
Okay. Yeah. Interesting. How about now obviously you're listening to this podcast all the time, but is there any other podcasts out there that you're diving into?
Well, until this, I was listening to New York Times Daily all the time, but it got really depressing.
Yeah.
But I've been trying to get into some audiobooks.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And my last one is going to be around, are there any like blogs or websites that you're just kind of constantly going to for, I don't know, maybe marketing help or social, I don't know, just anything that you're kind of like, man, I read this stuff. I really like it. Anything along those lines?
Not lately.
Okay.
I think I was doing a lot more of that before we launched. I was trying to get all prepped and everything, and in the first couple weeks. But now that we've kind of settled in, I'm just trying to like focus on getting all the production pieces finalized and really just trying to stay positive and keep my mind occupied on other things while I'm at home.
Yeah, the real work. You got to do the real work.
Yes.
No more just reading. You're in it right now. Well, Sam, I appreciate you taking time out of your day. I know it's a busy time with an active campaign, and I encourage all my listeners, go check this out. Really innovative design, and definitely, I mean, it's a niche, but I mean, you've hit an absolute grand slam with it because I can see how it functions and really could work for somebody who's looking for your solution here. So I applaud all your design and everything. It's a great campaign, and I wish you a lot of luck over the next 30 days. But thanks so much again for your time.
Yeah, of course. Thank you, Jeff. Really appreciate you thinking about us. And yeah, we're stoked to get Nomad Kitchens in everyone's cars and see where their adventures take them.
Awesome. Thanks again. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Jeff.